What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of the Comeback Couples Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Jennison, with my lovely wife,
Kendra Jennison.
The coolest, raddest, most badass party thrower in the world. What do you got to say about that?
You knew.
Yeah, but you actually, I guess we threw it, but we actually didn't really do all the work. So
I can take zero credit for any of the work. Just at my house.
So that's it for this podcast. Ryan over here, who's running this show, and he's the boss of the podcast of what we talk about, or what he wants out there, said he wants to talk about a recap on the party, right? So, man, it seems like that's all I see every time I turn on Instagram right now.
Well, it was the dopest party of the year.
Yeah? Why was it so dope?
Oh my gosh. Where do I start? We had dirt bike races at our house. We had the greatest firework display. I mean, probably in our state. Honestly.
You think it was that big?
It was that big.
My dad said the same thing. He said he had never really seen fireworks like that.
Every single person that I've talked to was like, I've never seen fireworks like that in my life.
Yo, let's be honest though. As a couple, since this is the couples podcast, that's the most irresponsible thing we do with our money.
Oh my gosh.
Like that was $10,000 cash. I literally said, "Here, babe, go to the bank, get out $10,000 cash, and let's light it on fire."
And we did. Nothing like blowing money, literally.
and kids were, but kids were loving it. I was thinking about Frankel's son though. He came up to me. He told his dad, he's like, there was just so many grand finales. It was, and then John goes like, "Shut up, man! Like you're complaining because it was too many fireworks." Like this guy. It
was awesome.
But yeah, it was really good. So,
food trucks. We had
bounce house.
We had just the coolest, hands down, the nicest people around.
Yeah, so I think that's a great way to talk about the recap. We could talk about the cool shit we did. We could talk about the way that it looked. And I will say this, not to toot my own horn, but toot, right? I'm a branding machine. You could probably agree, right, Ryan? Like when you looked around that party, that every single thing, the black, the yellow, the white, like every single, and it's everywhere. It's in this room. It's just, I noticed that. It
was awesome.
Like that was pretty fucking cool. I'm like, damn, you know what? This thing is actually like, it's real.
My favorite, hands down, were all the kids that were running around, cut off the sleeves of their AMACOMEBACK shirts. And these kids had mullets, sitting on a pit bike, cut off t-shirt, and pit vipers.
The greatest mullet was our nephew.
Hands down. Yeah. Hands down.
Happy birthday to him. He better not be listening to this, but happy birthday to him.
He's the best kid ever.
A couple days ago.
He really is.
But yeah, so the recap I want to talk about, like, yeah, we here's why we do it. It was for the anniversary. We started 3 years ago. So we started on year 5, the anniversary of I'm a Comeback, where we said, hey, let's just have a party. And it used to be a 2-day party, and separate. We did like the pit bike night under the lights, and we'd have, I think we only probably had 50, 100 people maybe at the first one, but dang, it was so much fun if you remember, right? Like,
I do.
It was really cool, the first one. That's in everything we do. The experiences, like the first one is always the coolest, right?
I agree. It's the excitement, it's the anticipation, it's just all the work that goes into it, and then it's finally here, and you're like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
it paid off, and especially because everybody that comes has such a good time that it makes it worth it. All the stresses and all the like worrying about all these little details, and just kind of goes away when everybody's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but if we're being real, we even talked about it. I didn't even see you.
The first one or this one?
What's that?
The first one or this one?
The first one.
I didn't see you at all.
I didn't see you at all because we were like taking out garbages and like
we were working
it and doing everything. And this time I saw you a little bit, but even here, like we would run into each other, give a kiss, and leave. Right? That's kind of what
pretty much. Like, yeah.
You were entertaining these people. I was entertaining these people. We probably put on fucking 20 miles of walking
for sure.
But yeah, I actually want to talk. I want to talk about like the recap. The recap of it was the most badass party that I've ever thrown, that I've ever been part of.
It was downright awesome.
But the really cool thing about it was we raised $15,000 for Operation Underground Railroad as a whole. I might have been off of my numbers. I thought it was $15,000 that changes a life, but I believe it's only $2,500. So I'm going to look into that. If that's the case, then we would have helped what? It would help save about 6 people just there. So
amazing. I hope that's the case, because even when I heard when you had said 15,000 to save a life, I was like, well, God damn it, something is wrong here, because we should be saving a lot more lives with 15,000 or for $15,000. That was like my first thing. But
yeah, it was.
I was like, you know what? One, I know there's a lot of that goes into the missions and behind the scene operations and logistics and whatever.
I thought I read 15. You can't believe everything you read on the internet. But 2,500 is what I read yesterday, and I thought, oh well, if that's the case, then we have 6 of them. So, but the recap that I want to talk about was the people's faces, like the enjoyment, the true enjoyment. People wearing we sold so much swagger, and we gave away hundreds and hundreds of shirts, and the amount of enjoyment, people walking around, drinking their beers, having their life, holding their wife's hands, the husband's hands, the kids running around, like establishing a thought, an idea, and a principle in reality, in real time, in front of people. Like think about Finlay or even like Ryan behind the kid. Like this thing was like real, and like the everyday man was able to celebrate. Everyday man and woman was able to celebrate something that is so important to me.
And what I think is really powerful about the way that we choose to do the party is, yeah, could we do it on a yacht somewhere and have very exclusive people and make it,
The who's who
of, this is AMACOMEBACK, this is how we're going to, sure, we could. And maybe one day that'll be an option. But what makes it so special, like you said, is people who have some way, somewhere, somehow heard your message, or maybe their mom or their dad or their brother or their cousin or whoever heard something that AMACOMEBACK message and what it stands for. And they were like, hey, hell yeah. Like I want to go there. I want to hang out with that. And just expressing to us or to other people that it helped them in some way, shape, or form, and bringing all of those people together. Strangers. I mean, hello, how many people?
Those dudes that had that loud ass truck, whatever.
That was the coolest.
They had this truck with an American flag, and they're waving the American flag out there. And those are 2 brothers that got to pull out there, and they'd been separated and angry at each other, and they were able to come together at the party. And both those dudes came up to me and shook my hand and said, thank you. Tears are welling up in their eyes. I'm like, I've said this over and over and over. AMACOMEBACK. It's a belief. It's an identity. It's a statement of power.
Right.
It's not about drinking, even though we're really fucking good at helping people stop drinking.
Right.
It's about empowering you as
empowering human beings, right? Because that's exactly what it was. I couldn't even write down countless times how many people had just came up to me, people I didn't even know, truly, strangers that decided to come celebrate at our farm with AMACOMEBACK t-shirts, hats, you name it. They had like all the swag.
They were like on it too.
Oh my gosh.
The minute it opened up, and they were pulling out their wallets. They were raising money for. It was amazing.
It was just amazing, and to celebrate it in that way with kids and with wives and truly like a family setting of bringing everybody together, everybody genuinely having an awesome time. And what's even cooler is if you really think about it, there's going to be kids and parents that make this an annual thing. And it's like, yes, like we all get to go together and celebrate at the AMACOMEBACK farm.
People were already put it on their calendars.
And
I was not even going to do another one. I was so irritated about some other stuff.
Little things, right? I know.
Not about the party, but just like, fuck, things bothered me. This could be the last one. Then I'm like, fuck, it can't be the last one. Now I need to figure out how to get bigger.
But I just think that to us and to so many people, it's not just a party. It's like a genuinely people look for. It's like the fair for some people. It's like they look forward to it every year. It's a lifestyle, yeah, and they get to be a part of that.
I think about your friend, Erin, right, and her husband.
Yep. I love them.
They are just so excited about it. They stop early to drop off their stuff to try to be part of something. Yeah. They invite their friends and neighbors and just like, yeah, it's really cool. But the recap I wanted to talk about was the principle of just happiness. And really that's what this past weekend was.
Truly.
Was just happiness. And from my seat where I sit, there's a lot of times I sit back when you're out doing your thing, walking around the property. You always like to get extra hillbilly for that one with your pit vipers on and just, I don't even know if you're wearing shoes, but maybe sometimes you weren't, but just really kind of grounded in the earth and really just doing you. There's a thing you always say about how I let you be you in all things. And I really feel like a recap on our relationship is it allows you to really truly be your most authentic self. You love music, right? You love people. all the things that thing is about is more for you than it is for me. Cause honestly, I like work.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. The party I thrive is like I want to talk to everybody. If I've never met you before, I want to meet you. I want people to see that I am we as a whole, but I'm just, what you see is what you get. I'm a genuine, truly authentic person. And hey, welcome to my farm. Look at me with these pit vipers on. I have no shoes. I'm running around. I'm chasing kids, and that is who I am. And that's kind of who we are. And that's what we welcome.
That's an interesting thing too. Yeah. And when I watch you do that, cause there's a lot of time in the seat that I sit in where there's like an identity crisis, and maybe a man is going through this in his own business, right? You wear so many fucking hats.
Sure.
I wear so many hats, right?
Oh, you do.
I'm a leader. I'm a marketer. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a gym rat. I'm a fucking businessman. I'm a depressed dude because of fucking world. Like, you wear so many different things. And you start looking out and comparing our life, where I sit like, well, why is our movement not as big as this one? Or why is it not that? But then when I sit down and actually look at what we've created in some way, shape, or form, the essence of the freedom that is inside it is much larger than most people's out there, because there's one thing: it's not fake.
100%. I actually love that you said that, because it is so true. And I know we're not the only ones. Like you said, I mean, it's hard, and we know better, but it's hard to like not look at some of our friends who are also very successful, and they're doing things differently, differently than how we choose to. But it's so hard to like not compare or to say, dang, are we like, why aren't we there yet? Or how come we're not? And to put yourself in that is a dangerous situation. And we know that, but it's hard. And I can, even as like your wife, I fall into that, because I truly do get caught in between like being my most truly authentic self, which is, kind of how I am right now. Gym clothes, I got sandals on. I don't really wear makeup hardly ever. Yeah. My hair's kind of crazy, and that's me. Truly, right? Sure. I am a natural free bird. Like, let me just be me. And sometimes I do get caught up in like, oh, dang, maybe I should present myself in a different way, or maybe I should dress a little differently, or maybe I should actually start wearing more makeup, or and it's a difficult place to be in, because I get caught in between being my most truly authentic self, which is not necessarily all of those things, but at the same time, I actually do like a lot of those things. Sure. Like, I like wearing really nice clothes, and I like doing my hair.
The identity crisis is when you start realizing you're becoming this person for other people.
Right. And that's, I guess that's like the dangerous part that we essentially anybody can get mixed up in. But then the biggest and best compliment ever is when we do throw genuine, authentic parties like we did this past weekend, and people see us at our house with our kids, with our friends, our family, and they're like, damn, this is really how these people are. You guys are freaking awesome. Yeah. Like, don't ever change that about yourself. And I'm like, you know what? Thank you for saying that, because you're right. And I won't.
And we're as a couple, as we navigate it, I mean, over time compounds, especially when you work like the way that I work. Like, the next 10 years of our life, there's no possible way we're going to be in the same place. It's going to bring new opportunities, more money, different homes, different beach place, vacate, right?
Yes.
And that's possible in the world. So, in the recap, what I guess the conversation was that the freedom inside of who we are was like the essence of what the movement sits in, which is true happiness and power. And figuring out how you can, this other conversation is how do we navigate that together as a couple as we grow? Because, this is a couples podcast talking about growing and evolving, not as the metamorphosis of the man, but the world of just existence and creations as the power couple, right? Like how do we always be us yet still build big shit? And what was cool about it was when we took a step back, at least from my shoes this weekend, and I watched the party, I realized I was a lot further along than I realized.
I think that's one of your I think in some ways it makes you so great, but in some ways it makes me just like want to shake you a little bit, because you are so much more successful than you give yourself credit for.
A lot of my times I'm just, and this is for guys out there that listen that probably feel like they're not good enough, man. I'm still just running from the trailer park.
Right. You definitely still have somewhat of that mindset in you. It's like, no matter how much bigger and how much better or how much greater or how much more developed than you become, you're always just like, yeah, but I'm really not. And I'm just like, I want to shake you because I'm like, yes, you are. I wish you could just see yourself in the light that I see you in because you're just amazing.
And that's a story inside of our heads that
I said, we all kind of have a story, right?
We all got our stories, and sometimes like, oh, that story motivates me. That story is the reason why I got the success. And I find that for me personally, I'm sure I'll get to it. Well, we know what I'm after, right? I told you the other day. Excuse me. I'm looking for a place of peace.
Yeah.
Like, but peace to me means that I got more money coming in than I know what to do with, and I've taken care of generations to come. I know that that's got nothing to do with the party, but it really does have everything to do with the party because I want the party to live on even after I'm dead. The comeback will still be celebrated. In order to do that, I need to have a financial windfall that fucking towers over every person that connects with here till I die. And then who knows if I'm going to have to die, because if I can get my brain downloaded into a fucking cyborg, I'm going to be a fucking cyborg.
He said that yesterday at dinner. We were on a date.
Cop.
He's like, I will become a robot if it's
if I don't have to die,
available.
I'm not gonna die. It is what it is. I'm not tired, so might as well keep going.
Keep going.
But yeah, so I just Brian wanted to do a recap. We do some really cool stuff together, and as a couple, I think it's really neat to be able to. I love using the word neat. It's really neat.
It's a really neat word.
It's a really neat conversation. I just think it's really amazing to be able to sit back and do something with somebody you love for so many people and be able to give them that. Like, I guarantee you, I gave that speech and so many people came up and were like, man, you were talking right to me.
It resonated with a bunch of people, for sure.
And they realized that it wasn't just about alcohol. They're like, damn, I get it. I get what this guy's talking about. And to be able to see happiness unlock on somebody, that they understand that there's a chance for them to win today and tomorrow for the rest of their life, that's the kind of shit that keeps me going every day. It really is.
And you did that. You gave that to people.
The party, I'm looking at the party, right? The party was the platform.
Party did, yeah. 100%.
We are and there'd be, and all the way down, since it's the couples podcast, right? There would be no party if I had no Kendra. If there was no Kendra, there'd probably be no comeback. If there was no Phoenix, there'd be no there would have been. Sure. I would have been teaching people how to sell.
Yep.
Right. I would have been a great dad, but I would have been teaching people how to sell. This brand, AMACOMEBACK, would have had a different meaning. It would not have been to the degree it is because there was no you. It's just, I was going to be a single dad and I was going to make a fuckload of money and I was going to be the best dad of my life. Fuck all women. There were nothing. I wanted nothing to do with them. That's where I was at when I met you.
Yeah.
And then you came along and softened that up a lot. And that brought in a whole new element, right? That could actually talk about the 7S, the faith, finances, the family portion. I don't think I'd be the leader that I was had I not allowed you into that I am, had I not allowed you into my life, which actually made the family get larger, which includes things like this party. I would never be having this party.
Yeah, people.
I don't even like people.
That's
not true.
You, no matter what, you were successful to some degree when I met you.
Success with money. That's easy as fuck.
Right. That's what I mean. Like
that's
you had like somewhat, you were going to be okay. Money wise.
Money wise, I decided a long time ago, I'm always going to thrive to make money. So it just is what it is.
And then, so I would never, like, no matter what, you were going to be successful with or without me. But I think definitely, and I say this confidently as your wife because we've talked about it, but I have definitely heightened all of your levels of success.
Yeah, for sure. And
you've done that for me as well. Like, it's not just a one way.
Well, because I live by that stop fucking line. How many dudes we've done couples coaching, couples events, people join the alliance, we bring them on the calls, we allow this people. I would never be able to have that connection if I didn't actually honor somebody.
Right.
This
how
guy's
can you
really
talk
cool.
about love and taking care of your family and all the things that you talk about if you don't do it?
Sure.
You just can't.
Right.
And how can you talk about having an amazing relationship if you have a completely crappy one?
Right.
You can't.
Or not one at all. If you're only
or not one at all, people are going to be like, I'm not listening to this joker.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
they would probably listen to me to learn how to sell or to make money or maybe just how to stop drinking. But part of the stop drinking was focus on the family for my kid. But all of our kids eventually leave the house. So what do you do with it after that?
Right.
So anyways, that's a long story talking about the recap of the party. Really the essence of what it is unlocking personal power and personal freedom within every single person there. And I feel like we did that. We were able to some degree, liberate between 400 and 600 people throughout the night. I think it was flowing in and flowing out. And just it was just amazing, and it was an honor and a privilege to be able to do it alongside you and with all of our team and all the people. If they listen to this thing, like, we couldn't have done it without them. We probably should give some special thanks to, your sister for doing this, Amber, my brother for doing the, putting on the race, and he need to do the band, Mel for making the cookies, your brother making the shirts, Ryan, Kevin, Corey. Well, Corey, he took off. He just watched all day. But anyways, there's fucking a ton of people that takes to make this thing go on.
Yes, we could not have done it without any of you at all.
The easiest thing for me to do was just pay for it.
Right. Yeah.
That was the easiest thing. Do you have anything else you want to add to these guys today? This was just kind of a nice just recap and talk. No,
I love that. But I definitely want to just kind of touch base on that. None of this would be without you, obviously. And sometimes I like I said a little bit earlier, that you don't give yourself enough credit for what you've truly, truly built. And that's because you have always been authentic. You've always been open. You've always been honest. And you opened up your home to 400 plus people, strangers, majority of them. And that's so incredible. And I just love being your wife.
Well, I appreciate you, and I love you too. So let's give these guys a call to action real quick. If they're listening and stayed this far, get together with your wife and plan something big. It doesn't have to be 400, 500, 600 people, but what are you fucking building? Right?
What are you building?
What are you building? Sit down and have a conversation about it. We do things that we do in our couples coachings and in the alliance and stuff like that. We're not going to give you the exact tools, but it starts with questioning, like, what are we fucking building?
Right.
And are we building together? Are we going the same way?
And keeping it true to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, right. Stop trying to do it to impress other people.
Right.
Although when I look at my party, I know that it's the biggest, most elite party around. That you know why this came, right? Because I didn't get invited to the rich socialites party. That's where this came from.
That is where it came from.
Like these people over here on the lake, they don't want to invite me because I'm a little rough around the edges. So I said, "Fuck you, I'll build my own."
And now we literally
like everything I've done in my life.
We have a party that beats that 10 to 9. So
yeah, and people get to have fun. You're not like, oh, look at me, I'm gonna talk shit, and this guy's cheating on that guy, and this fucking lady's doing cocaine. She's 80 years old. The Fox Jack,
some of those parties that you walk into that are like quote unquote stuffy. Like those super like elite, like invite only ones. People are super stiff, man. They're just super stiff. They're not a whole lot of fun. Everybody just is like walking on eggshells because they're like, I don't know how I should act. That's just not cool. Come to ours. Come to our party next year.
Absolutely. If you're listening,
you can be free. You can be fun. Invite your kids.
Although I do have some goals for the party in the next 3 years for the 10 years. So most likely by then I'm going to limit it to about 1,000 people. I think that's where we're going to cap.
We have to have a cap somewhere because 34 acres is quite a bit, but
it actually gets using up pretty quick.
It gets filled up pretty quickly
because you need all that space for the fireworks,
and the dirt bikes.
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
All these little kids ripping around.
I want to have an actual freestyle show. I think too.
We got a few friends that know how to do it.
Maybe a fucking half pipe, like get Tony Hawk out here. I'm reliving the 90s.
Honestly, I love that.
You wouldn't even know about the 90s.
Oh my God, I'm a 90s baby.
You were doing freaking 3rd grade math. I was doing meth.
That's why I'm awesome.
All right, that's it for today's episode. You guys have a great day. We'll see you next week.